My name is Ben Knowles from East Coast Yacht Sales, and in this video I'm going to be sharing my technique that I like to use when beaching an Axopar 37. So I get questions a fair amount of time on if I beach a boat, how often do I beach an Axopar, and my answer is in a given year we probably are beaching half a dozen times, so not a lot, but for beaching I'm typically just doing an offload. I'm never beaching and staying for a long period of time. The reason being is up in Maine there's a 10-foot tide height, so to beach a boat, if the tide's dropping, then the boat's gonna be high and dry in a couple hours. And when it's rising, if you were to beach the boat's always changing. So when I'm beaching, it's primarily just temporarily to do offload for friends and family. There's a couple of key things that I think is helpful, and I'll just show you my thought process that I have when I do beach the boat. So to prepare for beaching, one key thing that particularly on a 37 that I like to use is I have a little bit of a ladder that just makes loading and unloading a little bit easier. And I always put that out just before we get to the beach. So this ladder I store forward. It packs up very nicely. I'll send you a link on the top of this video or in the descriptions on where you can buy one of these suckers, but it's pretty great. It telescopes, so you just undo the buttons here, telescopes out, and I just put it right here just to make it easier for people to offload. Then back in the cabin now, I just get the boat positioned for the approach. The particular beach that we're going alongside is probably the softest beach I've ever used. It's almost hard to believe that we're in Maine right now. This beach is beautiful. Usually I'm beaching up against a typical Maine beach, which is more granite and rocks, but nevertheless, making the approach, I always pay attention to where the wind is coming from. Right now the wind is coming right from our beam, so I always try to set up a little upwind based off of where I want to go. And as I'm making my approach, I'm going very, very slowly. I then pull up information on my Mercury screens here to my, this is my engine trim right here. What I like to do is I trim the engines up to about 60. That is about maximum rise of the engines where I still have some good steerage. The higher you trim the engines up, the less steerage you're gonna get. And I know my lower units are still in the water at 60% up. And then also as I'm making my approach, I switch from using both my engines to go in forward to just one, just because I'm just trying to creep forward into the beach. And this is all about nice and slow speeds. You don't be in a big rush to get on here, particularly with a typical Maine beaching scenario where you're beaching on rocks. So the hull is perfectly fine. You just need to use your best judgment on your speed when approaching the beach. You also need to use good judgment if there's any sort of a big surf on the beach. That's, beaching is not an option. I only beach when it's a nice calm waters right up against the beach here. So now we're pretty darn close. I'm traveling at about 1.5 knots, just nice and slow. Again, the breeze is continuing to kind of push me down, which is fine. And we're gonna touch ground here pretty soon. And again, this is primarily an offload situation. So it's a little bit of a touch and go, so I'm not on here very often, or not on the beach for very long. And we just touched just now. Now, I'm in neutral, and because the breeze is coming from the side, the boat's gonna start turning because of the wind. So what I actually do is put one engine in forward, just idle forward, and then I turn my engine a little bit to the left, so then it pushes, kind of counteracts that wind motion, just so I can stay fairly perpendicular to the beach. So keep one engine and idle forward. That way the boat is gently pressed up along the beach, so the boat's not floating back and forth with any wave action or anything like that. But because I'm in idle forward right now, I feel comfortable showing you a little bit more of what that ladder setup is like. And it still is April in Maine, so it's a little chilly, so I have boots on because the water is freezing. But because the bow of the Axopar is not very high and there's this great platform, it's super easy to do these offloads. So with this ladder, you can just hop on, and it's an easy walk off, and there you go. It's pretty sweet.